Good morning, everybody. Welcome to pre-market update. Bitcoin is cooling off after touching this sell red zone. You can see three standard deviations, touched it here, and then now cooling off, came back to this buy zone, gave back almost 5.5%, topped here around 107,000, and now it's here around 101,412. You can see Ethereum, very similar story here on Ethereum. Actually, it was very weak compared to Bitcoin. It touched here on the red line. That's where you would have sold here around 34.94 and then gave it all back where it is right now from there. Let's see we'll try to estimate from here's the top to the price action there. Right now it's here. You can see the line is moving almost 6% down. All right. And now bouncing from the buy zone here, green line is where you want to be buying. And same thing with all the major indices. You can see S&P 500 came to the sell zone, now cooling off, down 0.1%. Nasdaq is down almost 0.5%. Came to second standard deviation, now cooling off. Same story with most of the indices. This is also Russell. You can see nice dump from the sell zone here. On Russell also, you can see it's down almost 1.5%. So let's review the entire market and see long-term charts, how things are going. Please hit the like button, guys. I really appreciate that. And share this channel with your friends and family. All right, so this is S&P 500 chart where I'm keeping an eye. You can see we came very close to this top red line, all right? And whenever we are near top red line or touch top red line, we get a rejection. So let's see, there's also a possibility where we could get another small pump to go touch in this red line, and then we'll see light green background. That means it's very oversold. So that's usually a very good short opportunity. But there are also times where we fall slightly below this top red line and then also can dump here. All right. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't need to always touch this red line. But it's better if it touches, then it's better short that way. So anyhow, so if it does want to go up, and the top target is around 63.46, it can surely go there. You can see time and time we go touch this red line, the top red line, and then also time and time we come back to the bottom green line. So here you can see here we came back to bottom green line. It also a couple of times we even came to the bottom two green lines, and we even went under it. So just keep that in mind. This is an estimate. Doesn't need to be perfect, but right now where we are, your upside potential from where we are right now to here is almost 4%, and then the downside potential is from here to at least first touch of line is almost 10%. All right. So keep that in mind. Risk reward is better to the downside than to the upside. Uh, Sorry, give me a second. I'm getting a call. All right, moving along. So yeah, this is the chart we're gonna keep an eye on to see how things are going. And this is SPX cycle analysis. I had to update the cycle because previous cycle was not working out good. So we have to change and update as new information is available. So this is my new cycle chart. And now we are in this rising phase. You can see this blue line and white line rising phase. So but this should be like cooling down end of January, and then we should be looking for a small decline. Now, one thing to note, we are going on these gap ups. You can see 1 hour chart, gap up here, gap up here. There is, let's see if this is a slight gap up. No, it's okay. And then another three major gaps. We are going higher on three major gaps. So we'll see if when we want to come back down. But right now, eventually some of these gaps should be filled, and we'll see when that happens. But for now, you got to be quite careful. We are at previous all-time high with divergence. You can see we made a new high, new high with divergence on PPO and RSI. What that means, you can see this is RSI making a lower high. This is PPO making a lower high, and price is going higher with the lower momentum on PPO and RSI. So just keep that in mind and be careful on all these gaps. I don't know when they're going to be filled, but eventually they will be filled. So you have to be very careful and don't be very aggressive here. Nasdaq and DX chart, you can see again there is also a gap at the top. They might want to go fill that gap and then come back down, but again same story here, multiple gaps to the downside. And on triple Qs, you can see these levels. You can take a screenshot of these levels if you want on all the gaps. Dow Jones ETF, also you can see this major gap here. So uh, although it's above all moving averages, I won't be surprised if they want to pull this back and then take higher. IWM also cooling off in front of this 50 simple moving average red line. Let's see if it's gonna go down and then go higher later on. So we'll see how things shape up. Let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also cooling off a bit, slightly nothing much. 9 count sell signal a couple of days ago. It came here, cooling down a couple of days. Again, it can afford to go as low as this previous low holds, 89,000. It's all good. It can make a higher low and keep going higher to 120K. That's possible. But again, even on Bitcoin, made a new high here. You can see price made a new high with divergence, massive divergence on RSI, massive divergence on PPO. You can see. So just be mindful of that. In terms of gaps on BTC chart, there's a big gap around 77K here. I don't know when it's going to fill, but at some point it should fill and it's going to be down of almost 74% possibility. So just keep that in mind. Just be careful, guys. Don't get hung up or don't get, just remember, keep your minds open when you're trading these crypto. It can go down very, very fast. Um, Also, Ethereum just holding here. Ethereum is pretty weak. People are very disappointed with Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin. It's like not even made a new high. Uh, there's no gap. It's right now in the middle. Couple of gaps at the top, so they could pump and fill these yellow gaps, and also one gap to the downside. They could also dump to fill this bottom gap. So be aware of these things. Let's go to commodities. U.S. oil finally trying to bounce in after breaking out, touching back these blue lines, 200 EM and SMA, and bouncing. There's a gap here around 79.83. So if I go to 1 hour chart, you can see there is a gap down here. So they will fill that gap at some point. So just keep that in mind. They should try to pump this. This could still be a higher low, and again could try to bounce from here. CNQ was little weaker, got rejected. It came very close to these yellow and red lines, 50 EMA, SMA. Rejected. A bounce here can, next resistance could be these blue lines. There's some gaps here. All these yellow lines are the gaps to fill to the top side. There's one gap around 28.95 to the bottom side. We'll see where it wants to go. I think it's going to be a higher low in terms of this downturn and then trying to go above this previous high. So that will be really good if that happens. XLE also just coming back down. There are gaps here around 91.26, maybe trying to fill that and then go higher again. We'll see how things shape up. Let's move along to Toronto Stock Exchange, above all moving averages, trying to fill this gap around, I think, TSX 26645, Hang Seng Index China. Um, Getting rejected here, 7 count sell. Let's see, it's front of some support here, multiple moving averages. If it can bounce, it's good. If not, it's coming back to fill this 18,000 gap. Bond market holding this white line 20 moving average, 7 counts buy signal, but this was a big resistance here, so it was not able to go above that. So let's see when and if it was gonna go above. That's your trade. Let's wait for it to break out, else it can go reject here, make a new low. That's also possible. And TLT just follows whatever this ZB will do. There's a big gap here. Keep that in mind. They could come back all the way to fill this gap and then bounce later on. So be careful. Natural gas, nice move yesterday off this 20 moving average, white line. Nice pump now above all moving averages. Let's see if it's gonna break down. Seasonality wise, it's very weak for natural gas, so I think it's gonna come back down, but we'll see how it goes. Gold is down a bit, but made a new high. Um, and again, a lot of support here, so it's by the dip. Silver is very weak compared to gold in front of this 20 moving average, trying to find support here. Copper came to this support area, now bouncing. Again, could be came to this multiple EMA lines and bouncing from here. Sugar is very good. Got a 9 counts buy signal just going higher. This could be the bottom. Let's see, time will tell. But this is a nice support area here on sugar. One of the best possibilities to buy. Wheat also bouncing, back testing, but wait for it to close above these blue lines to be bullish again. Corn is the best trade. Buy the dip, getting a 9 count sell signal, a cool down, come to a 20 moving average and then bounce again, you can see. So keep that in mind. Dollar also flagging here, bear flag. Is it going to break down or is it going to come back to some support here and then bounce again? Again, on dollar, there is a gap here. If I go to 1 hour chart, where did it go? Oh, okay. So maybe I need to update this. Looks like the gap is filled. This was a gap down here. So looks like that gap is filled. So I will update it later on. That's a good information. Um, okay. Moving along, Apple is trying to turn the corners after touching 200 EMA. Let's see if it's gonna fail again. Fill this gap. Now there's a gap down here, so they could try to fill this gap around 229. So keep that in mind. And inversely, they could come back, fill this gap, and go higher. There was no divergence, so I prefer it makes a new low after this bounce, so we can start building some divergence. But again, who knows? Apart from that, everything else was pumping yesterday. All these, you can see Netflix had a massive gap up with earnings. Amazon, all these have multiple gaps. Microsoft, huge gap here. So yeah, I won't recommend buying at these levels. NVDA, huge gap up. So you can see down pre-market a little bit. So be careful, guys. Tesla was okay. AMD was also a couple of gaps. So just be aware as we're going higher, we're leaving some gaps, and we have to be mindful that they could bring it down at some point to fill some of these gaps. Okay, apart from that, let's quickly look at VIX. VIX again, couple of back gaps are downside. They could, if they pump market, they will bring it down to fill this gap. If they're dumb, they're gonna fill this gap at top as well. You can see 27.64, massive gap. So this year we will have this touched at some point. You can see massive gap down here. So be mindful of that, guys. A big dump is coming. 9 to 10% correction is possible. So we just don't know when. Maybe after spring 2025. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hit the like button on your way out, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.